So, welcome to the Mr. Mishra podcast. This is Shreyan Mishra, and this is where I'll be talking about almost everything and anything that interests me, and anything and everything that might interest you as a listener or as a person of culture. Okay, and I do not have any introduction planned, so this might sound impromptu because it is indeed impromptu. Today, I would like to talk about Murakami, Haruki Murakami, because I feel that Murakami's non-fiction is very underrated. Of course, the world knows about Kafka on the Shore. The world knows about Norwegian Wood. Indians know more about Norwegian Wood because Vidya Balan recommended that book, and Vidya Balan was in turn recommended by Prajakta Kodi. So, yeah, we Indians know Murakami from there, I believe, or at least the Vision generation knows about Murakami from that one read. But yes, so I was interested in reading Murakami after I saw one of that TED Talk explanations on Kafka on the Shore, and I thought, okay, so here's this one writer who's writing something out of the ordinary, writing something that is different. So that is why I decided to, well, let's just go forward and uh, take a look at Murakami. Now, I started out reading Norwegian Wood because that is what I found on all the different tutorial channels, that if you want to start with Murakami, you should start with Norwegian Wood. And maybe I wasn't, how do I put this? I don't think it's about being open minded or broad minded, but I didn't like Norwegian Wood uh, in a way because I thought that it was perhaps lacking a bit of content. Now, coming from a background where I've read all sorts of thrillers like that, and writers like Patterson or Brown, Dan Brown, or David Baldacci, John Grisham, I naturally expect my next book to be fast paced, and this was I think, my very first introduction to literary fiction. So things were a bit uh, unexpected for me. Also, because of the fact that I had never, as I said, never read anything of this sort, and I didn't expect literary fiction to be like this. I have also read Jeffrey Archer, so I know how a saga feels, but this one was different. And the reason why I did not like Norwegian Wood is the reason why many don't like Norwegian Wood, and that is because of its weird sex scenes. Almost, within 30 pages, almost every 30 pages, there is one explicit romantic scene. Now, being a writer, and that too a writer of fiction, uh, I, I, I was both surprised, and I was a bit jealous also, and surprised for the fact that as I said, I had never encountered something as explicit like that. I also am not very proficient in writing romantic scenes. So yeah, that was there. So I didn't like Norwegian Wood because I think I was not getting the context. But one thing that I, of course, observed when I was reading Murakami was the fact that it was oddly relatable. Of course, whatever that was happening with rather, and Murakami's protagonist in Norwegian Wood. Of course, those things never happened with me, and I don't think they will happen with me ever in my future. But somehow, and I think Murakami has got this brilliance, and this is something that I absolutely like to highlight every time I'm talking about Murakami. Murakami can make you feel relatable, and he can provide you context even when there is none. I was feeling quite emotional when I was reading the texts and verses because I thought that, uh, look, if I have to put it in a way, in the most straightforward way, I would have to say that Murakami has been able to establish this very nice sort of connection between the reader and the protagonist and his characters. It almost appears as if you yourself, reader, that is, you yourself are a character. You yourself are going through whatever the character is going through. And believe it or not, that is what the purpose of a fiction book is. When a reader when a writer, if I put it that way, when a writer writes a fiction book, I think it's his or her primary job to ensure that his or her reader, when they'll read the book, the reader will be able to put himself or herself in the character's shoes. And I think Murakami does it better than anyone else. Murakami helps you to establish that connection beautifully. That was the one takeaway that I had with Murakami's style when I was reading Norwegian Wood. And as I said, I didn't enjoy it so much, so I had to put it away. I had other books to read and at that time I thought there were other better books, and they were in an aspect. So I did instead. Lot of months later, uh, I went to College Street again from the same stall where I buy my fiction books, popular bookstall. It's just near the Presidency College, and it's on the footpath. And I think there is no other better place in entire Kolkata where you can get literary books for free, as well as non-fiction for not for free, but at a much cheaper rate. So, and I was planning to read something new because I had read enough fiction till that point, and I was trying to get into non-fiction. I was trying to get more into self-help and memoirs. Okay, so I I bought few books, and my highlight, rather my attention, went to this one black covered book, which was by Murakami, and that was his memoir, is what I talk about when I talk about running. And I had seen this thing come up in my YouTube feed whenever I went to search how to journal, and recommendations would be basically videos telling you how to journal like Murakami, or how to write like Murakami. So all these things popped up. So from that point of time, I was very interested to sort of uh, sort of read this particular book. So I thought, okay, I'm getting this at a cheaper rate, so why not buy it and why not give it a try? So only today I have finished reading Murakami's what I talk about when I talk about running. And let me tell you, all my stereotypes or all my preconceived notions that I had about Murakami, all of them have been shattered ruthlessly. I can tell you that I am a very big fan of Murakami now, but the thing is, I am a very big fan of Murakami's non-fiction. Okay, this is what I would want to highlight. That at this point, I can tell you, out of all the non-fiction books that I have read till now, out of all the memoirs, Murakami's one is simply the best. Okay, because as I said, relatability. At this point of time, I am actually looking forward to start exercising, and I am looking forward to get into running. So I think this was very contextual for me. But I think for anybody who is trying to accomplish something big, Murakami's what I talk about when I talk about running is the beginning point. If you're looking for inspiration, if you're looking for motivation, if you're looking for, okay, how do I continue doing what I want to do? Or how do I begin and how do I stop? Or should I at all think about stopping? If all these questions are somehow haunting, no, you should go forward and read this particular memoir. This is basically a memoir, a piece, a book that discusses Murakami's preparation for if I'm not wrong, the New York City Marathon. Yes, the 2005 New York City Marathon. And this details about different marathons that Murakami walked. run rather. He had run, and it talks about triathlons. It talks about waking up early in the morning. It talks about journaling. It talks about writing. So there's so much things going on. So many things going on. Andre. And my thoughts have absolutely, you know, gone to a different point after reading and completing this book. This is indeed one of the best memoirs that I've ever read till now. Before this, I was reading The Art of Being Alone by Renuka Gavarani, which was again a very short read and a very good read. That gives me the momentum, but I can tell you now that after having read Murakami, my interest in non-fiction and in memoir has particularly risen. Now, there's one thing that I would like to point out, and this might be concerning or might not be concerning, or might be a point of bothering for some people. The thing is, you see, whatever we read about Murakami or whatever we read of Murakami is basically translations. We are not reading what Murakami has originally written, we are reading something which has been translated. And I can tell you, because I have read Dostoevsky's The Brothers Karamazov and The White Knights, I can tell you the importance of translation with regard to foreign works is very, very, very important. If you don't get a good translation, you will automatically lose the interest in reading a foreign author. I think Murakami has been lucky in a way because he has got some really good translators. I, at this point of time, think that if I would have been able to learn the Japanese language, the first thing I would have done would have been to pick up Murakami's book written in his mother tongue, and I would have read, because right now, after having read uh, this translation, which sounds and reads beautifully, and at an sort of a trance. If this reads so beautifully, what will happen when I read the original text? Okay. Now, I know some of you might be thinking that why is he talking more about his, about his own experience and not talking about the book itself? Because I think if you're listening to this, you are much more interested about the book than about my experience. So I thought I would talk a bit about it before talking, because there's nothing much. See, as I said, in most of Murakami's book, nothing exquisite is going on. In this book, you will find a discussion of several memoirs, pardon me, a description of several uh, marathons, the ones he had run and the ones he wanted to run, and the time duration and everything. So there is not much context. If you are looking for contextual value, there's not much things to read about, not many things to read about. But again, as I said, the nuances matter a lot. Uh, One thing that I've observed about Murakami is that Murakami makes brilliant observations. All these different observations which he made while running the marathons or while running in the morning, about people, about the things going around him, about the tracks, about what's going on in his mind before they starting the triathlon or a marathon or running in general. All these observations and all these reflections, I think Murakami makes them brilliant. And Murakami, I think many of us readers would be able to sort of highlight this, that Murakami is also known for his gritty realism. And I think very, very few people are able to make such kind of detailed observations from memory. I think Hemingway was one such writer. He really had these observations. He could make, look, writing about what's happening around you, just copying that on the paper, that is something that everybody can do. But when you are trying to make sense out of it, when you are presenting it to somebody, you need to ensure that the facts don't look overwhelming, and there is a poetry, a sort of connection in the way you are presenting yourself. So presenting your facts, rather presenting your observations and reflections. So I think Murakami does that brilliantly. So this was all about uh, Murakami is what I talk about when I talk about running. I would highly suggest you don't. I mean, of course I would not tell you to stop listening to me, but I would certainly say that after you complete this podcast, please go forward and buy your copy of this particular book and read it. Okay, I will only be making the suggestion, but until and unless you read it yourself, you will not be able to get the actual beauty of it, get the actual essence out of it. Okay, so that was all about this episode. Stay tuned for the next one. Thank you.